Empty kitchen, empty chairs, empty home.
At the Yay Youth Homeless Shelter, there's not a homeless teen in sight. This shelter, the only youth shelter in Berkeley, remains open just half the year. In this episode of Investigative Report, we'll explore why a city notorious for its young homeless doesn't have a full-time shelter to house them.
When people get to the shelter, they're coming from a number of different backgrounds and communities. Over the course of this season, a community develops. It's imperfect. It's decidedly imperfect, but it's actually a pretty good place to be.
Unfortunately, that community is only offered at nights from November to May each year.
We are not able to accommodate everyone who comes to our door. We have the capacity to provide beds for 25 people. There's way more than 25 homeless youth in Berkeley. When Yay can't provide shelter for people, they sleep outside.
But I don't believe that they have enough housing for us during the winter time, because there's people coming in here all the time from Oregon, Washington, wherever, from all over the world. And they come up in here and they have nowhere to go. And they're kids, they're little kids.
When people can't find a bed here, we try to help them find a bed somewhere else. But often the beds that are available are too far away. They're in Oakland and there's no easy transportation if you don't have funds.
The city of Berkeley spends about $2.9 million on services for the homeless, which includes 8 emergency shelters. Of those 8, Yay gets a little over $100,000 for its shelter, but that is only enough to be open at night for half the year.
We know that a permanent shelter, a year-round shelter, would be a tremendous step forward for Berkeley. It's going to take us a little while to get there. We're currently working on a financial plan where we think we'll be able to raise the funds to have a long-term, year-round homeless shelter, but we're not there yet.
We checked in with Berkeley City Councilmember Jesse Argeen to see why Yay isn't able to get the funding it needs from the city.
We have not identified the additional funding. I think it's like an additional $100,000 that we need to keep it open year-round. Because part of it is we have a limited amount of money, and we want to make sure that everybody gets, all the different shelters get funded at the basic level they need to operate.
However, it turns out that it's not just the homeless youth that's suffering from lack of beds.
A little over 800 homeless people, but during the winter months, which is when we have the most shelter beds, we have about 400 shelter beds.
In response to these issues, Berkeley City Council has created the Homeless Task Force. At a special meeting last spring, our current system was compared to a pinball machine.
They randomly ricochet around and maybe bump into something where they score a service that can really help them. But often they bump against things that aren't helpful and fall through the cracks.
Or they do find something that works, but it doesn't stay open long enough.
It's sad. I mean, some people have been staying at the shelter for as long as 6 months. People have had a level of stability in the shelter that they aren't able to have on the streets. Some people have good plans put together, and they know what's going to happen next. They know where they're going, and they know realistically how they're going to get there. But some people don't have the resources to figure out something else, and where they will be is the streets.
I sadly think that we're not going to solve homelessness, but I do think we can make great strides in reducing homelessness in our community, and that's the goal of the Berkeley Homeless Task Force.
In the meantime, Yay and other Berkeley shelters could use volunteers for the winter months. I'm Mia Shaw, reporting from Cal TV in Berkeley.